Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with daily technical update. It is the 11th of September and we'll have a quick look at Tesla today. Once again, it has bounced after the sell-off earlier this, it was Friday, sorry. This massive sell-off where it was rejected at 234.25, and I think we could see a test of it here at possibly the next couple of days. If it does close above 234.25, then uptrend has been established and there's potential higher. So keep an eye on that level right there. On the indices, on the main indices, we have S&P 500, where the S&P 500 actually just below the 5,501 resistance. This is the gap area here. That will be key. Can it close back above or not? Then we could get back in positive territory. And the RSI is still showing the positive sentiment. It didn't close below 40, so it's still in a positive sentiment despite having some divergence here. But if it can close above 55.01, well, then there is potential for a fairly strong rebound. I'm not saying we go back to the previous peaks, but currently S&P 500 is pre-market indicated a little bit lower. On Nasdaq, also a little bit nice bounce yesterday, but it needs to get back above 19,000, I would say, and we are in a negative sentiment on the RSI, so we are actually in a downtrend, as you can see here, lower lows and lower highs, and it really needs to get back above at least 19,522 for any meaningful uptrends at all. Moving on to the European markets, we can see that the Eurostoxx 50 is more or less dancing sideways here. Really needs to get back above 48.12 for potential to push back into positive territory. But we have the 55 moving average coming down there. We have the 100 up here, kind of putting a lid on it. So that will be a bit of a struggle. And we can also add this gap area here that will be key between 48.89, 49.07. That would be key for really upside potential. For now, we are in a bearish trend, short term, and negative sentiment. DAX index, that found support here at 18,236. That's the gap area here, and the 38.2 retracement of this uptrend there. And we can see we had this bearish engulfing top and reversal pattern. It really needs to close that 18,748. It needs to close above there for resuming uptrend. We are still in a positive sentiment. There's no divergence, so it's not unlikely it will happen. But it needs to close above that. If we move back above 18,500, maybe that could be indication that we will push back towards that. The Amsterdam index, a little bit depressed, I would say. Potential down to 873 around this level, where we also have the 200 moving average coming up, giving a little bit of support, negative sentiment, and strong resistance here around 907. The CAC index, could be caught range bound between 74.64 and 73.70. Around these levels here, we are back in negative trend, very short term at least. There's just a little bit of negative sentiment on it here, but if it can move back above 7,500, then I think we could see a test, or at least a try to get back to above 7,600. But we have this bearish engulfing here, that is a top and reversal. We need to close above that, meaning we need to close above, or CAC 40 needs to close above 7,672 to cancel and reverse that. The Swiss market, dancing around the 11,928, this gap area here. It actually closed below here on the 6th of September. So it is in a bearish trend. We are in a negative sentiment, so we could see a risk lower towards 11,770, 750. If it can get back above 12,040, well, maybe we could see a little bit of rebound towards 12,200, but we have some strong resistance up in this area here. Moving on to FX and euro dollar. As usual, we saw euro dollar closing below 110.25, confirming a downtrend. We are bouncing a little bit back up today, but we could see it pushing lower towards the 109.50, 109.40 support area. We have the 55 moving average coming up, and if we get down there, I think that will be it for the correction phase. And first clue of that unfolding will be if it takes out the lows from today and the lows from yesterday, which is around 110.15. Otherwise, it can bounce higher, so keep an eye on that. But it really needs to take out 111.55, 111.56, this spike up here, and then it will resume uptrend. As we can see also on the weekly chart, that we actually are in a bullish trend on the medium term. You can see that after this triangle breakout we talked about for some time ago, with potential up to 114.50 area. Moving on to Euro Sterling, bouncing a little bit, still holding on above 84, and that is key. Can it get actually up to a correction up to the 38.2 at 84.65 area? That is debatable. We have moving average coming down, kind of putting lid on, so we could actually be caught range bound in this area at the moment. But 84 is the really key support level to look out for. On cable, well, always testing a 130.45 support and the 38.2 retracement, and if we just drag it out a little bit more, then we can see it right there. But also on the longer term or medium term picture, we are in a bullish trend, so we are, I would say, just in a correction phase. If it takes out 130.35, then expect a correction down to around 129. Otherwise, I would probably try to crawl a little bit higher. The yen pairs, they have been sold off this morning, and if we're looking at the dollar yen, that is testing the 140 spot 80. It's very close to the spike down here back from December last year, 140.25, and it could also take out that. If it does, then we're looking at 137, 2025, these areas in this region here around that level. So it looks fairly heavy at the moment on dollar yen. We can also see here on the daily, RSI is currently breaking bearish out of this, or breaking this low rising trend line here, despite bouncing. So if it does close below the low rising trend line, as you can see down here, well, then it could be another sign that dollar yen will move lower. Looking at euro yen, also lower this morning, and also was lower yesterday, very close to the 155, which we talked about the past few days, and getting closer to this spike down here. And looking at the weekly chart, 153, we have some support in this region here, and I think we could reach that in the next few weeks. And this is the thing; it's always hard to say about the timeline on any push. Aussie yen testing the 93.65 support and the 61.8 retracement this morning here, but we are in a bearish trend. We are in a negative sentiment, and there is currently no divergence. I think we could see it pushing lower, maybe even also down to around 92.25, maybe even lower, but at the 786 retracement right there. On the sterling yen, the sterling yen is also quite heavy, and I think we could see it pushing down to around 183 level, 183.25, maybe 182.5, and then medium term it could also sell off down to around 180, 180.5, this support area here. But it will be seen when we see what's going on around 183, which I think we will reach down to. The Aussie dollar, and I think it's safe to just move into just looking at the daily chart here, because on the weekly it's a little bit more unclear what's actually going on. 66.40, you can see that little spike down there, actually dipped it down to 66.40. So what I actually change that just to adjust it a little bit, 66.40. If it takes out that, well, then there's potential below 66 and 65, 60.70 around that level here. Otherwise, if it bounces back, well, then it could resume uptrend if it moves back above 67, but it will only be confirmed if we move above 67.70, this spike up there. So for now, we are in a corrective phase. Dollar Canada, well, it actually took out that key 135.90 resistance, and there's still potential up to the 38.2 retracement at 136.34. It is stalling a little bit, but the RSI is still in a negative sentiment, and it needs to close above 60 to establish a bullish trend. If it does that, and if it closes back above the 38.2 retracement here at 136.35, well, then I think we could see a larger corrective move higher towards 137, 137.5. If being rejected, moving back below 135.90 and RSI getting back below 40, then expect a sell-off towards previous lows. Swiss francs. Swiss franc is testing the 93 support here, and just above the 786 retracement. 93 support, that is the most key one, and currently it is forming a bottom reversal pattern, but the day is not gone yet, so we could still see a push lower, but for now we have a bounce, and that would be interesting here the next couple of days. Will it actually form a bottom and reversal pattern? So keep an eye on that. If it takes out 93 and the lows today, well, then expect a sell-off down to 92.5, possibly lower. Dollar Swiss. Dollar Swiss still holding on above 84. Yes, it did spike below, didn't close below, so we could be caught range bound here between 84 and 85.40 around this level. A close above here, well, then expect a move up to around 86.15. If it takes out 84, once again expect further selling pressure or selling pressure coming back. Resuming, and we could see dollar Swiss pushing lower towards the lows there back from December last year around 83.30. And finally on the dollar index, also it looks a little bit like dollar Swiss, to be honest, and of course it's influenced by it. Oh, sorry, that was not that dollar index. Sorry, here we are. That's why it looked like dollar Swiss. I was a little bit surprised there, but it does look a little bit similar. You have like a double bottom pattern maybe, but it needs to be confirmed by a close above 101.86, and it is not right there yet. 101.86. If it gets above that, expect to move up to around 102.70. If it can't that and slide back, then we have a retest of the lows down here around 100.40, 100.30 level. Let's have a look at gold and commodities in general. Well, gold very close to testing the 2,532 resistance. If it breaks above that, well, I expect to move up to 2,600, and especially if RSI is breaking above this falling trend line there, that will confirm it further. So keep an eye on that, and to the downside 24.70, that should be observed as this is the range gold is trading in, or gold spot is trading in at the moment. So we have moving on to silver, that was a little bit slow to load, bounced off this 27.70 key support as it seems, and 29.20. If it breaks above that, then we could see a push towards $30. And on copper, well, copper is a little bit sideways trading, trying to get it back up here, but it's not really materializing. 404.25 to the downside should be observed, and for now we are in a little bit of correction or sideways trading, and we need to get up back above 420 for a push toward 432. At 432, well, then we will push higher, but it doesn't really seem like it at the moment. WTI crude oil sold off again yesterday, and as we can see here on the weekly chart, it pushed below the 67.71 support, and the next one is 64.12. We are on our way to this, and possibly also to 61.80, where we have some support here on the medium term. A similar picture on Brent crude oil, that also sold off yesterday, bouncing a little bit this morning dip below the 61.90 support, and as you can see here, after this triangle-like pattern breakout, well, there is actually potential down to around $60. Whether we get there is debatable, because we still have some support here at 64.60, and we could see a little bit of bounce after this the sell off the past week or so. And finally, on the US Treasury yields, that has also been dropping heavily overnight. And this morning we have now below the 363 and lower, and there's not really any support until around 332. Will we get down there straight line? No, but we are in a bearish trend on both the short and medium term. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day. Talk to you again tomorrow.